going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal, Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check. This is your preview, not for Crown Jewel. We're not quite doing that just yet, but it is your preview for NXT 2300, and that is Jake fucking DeMARCO. What's going on, buddy?
We got one hell of an episode this week. I mean, really, hands down stellar. Sucks that it was went up against the, Game 4 of the World Series, and essentially people thinking that was going to be the demise of the Yankees, but somehow they held on. We've got Game 5 going on tonight up against AEW. We'll see what those ratings are, but I like what they're doing in terms of, as you said, putting all their cards out on the table. They're showing it off. They're saying, hey, we're stacked and ready to go. You better bring it.
I love how I listened to you do that entire opening, and I'm like, okay, so I guess the sports are sportsing.
The sports are sports, and you know it.
Yeah, there's all kinds of other things going on in America that fucked with NXT last night, and hey, spoiler alert, we're recording this on Wednesday because it's a better use of time than watching the Halloween version of The Mud Show. We will be releasing this, I'm going to say Friday, but I might drop it tomorrow. Who the hell knows? We will be talking about Crown Jewel at some point later this week as well. Possibly just me, possibly me and Jake, depending on how my schedule goes. Jake's the available one, so figure that one out.
That's a rare one.
But yeah, okay, we got a couple of other topics to get into before we get into the actual show that we're getting next week. But I'll start it off super generically. Overall thoughts of not necessarily it being on Wednesday and why it's on Wednesday and all the other Wednesday-ness, but thoughts in general of them going to the ECW arena.
I'm excited. There's a lot of story to tell there, and AEW and ECW have kind of this, story to tell where they've gone up against each other before. So now you're getting AEW versus NXT ECW, so it's kind of interesting to see that, and I like the way that they're, they're bringing the history. That's really what it's all about. It's like, hey, we can bring legends in for any name show, but we're not just doing an extreme night. We're going back to where it began. So,
but they're not. I think the balance that they've found here, and I know you've talked about the history, and I'm sure they'll do some history of the building and whatever. And people are saying they should bring back like the brick entrance for a night and things like that. They're acknowledging and they're respecting the history, but they're not leaning on it, which is definitely something they would have done in the past.
Yeah, it's not just an ECW themed night where they're bringing in everybody for every match. No, there's a couple of people coming in for certain things, mixed tags, referees, this kind of scenario. But there's more to it than just ECW. They're about telling their own legacy now too.
There's a time where any version of WWE doing an ECW tribute show would have been, oh, look, Cody's defending his title against Tommy Dreamer tonight, which, all due respect to Tommy Dreamer, I don't really think we need to see that.
Yeah. I don't think so either. So I think this is all going to be one-offs, and I don't think it's going to be a continual story. Bubba's not going to be around long term.
No.
I don't see him turning. I don't see anything like that happening.
People are going off about him and what's his name, LaGreca, being at Halloween Havoc. Oh my God, they're such shills. Don't expect them to ever review AEW fairly ever again. It's like, oh, fuck me.
Exactly. Hey, yeah, no doubt about it. And I mean, that was kind of the sad state of affairs we got with some of the other things online with how people are treating NXT at this point in time. But we'll get into it.
Yeah, there's a couple different ways I want to attack that, and none of them are going to surprise anybody. So yes, guys, it's going to be one of those kind of podcasts. It's interesting for me, right? Because I don't know, were you watching ECW back in its heyday?
Not faithfully, but I was as much as I could get. The thing about ECW in its heyday for me was that it was all over the place. It was usually on at 2 a.m. on Sportsnet. It wasn't usually always scheduled at a certain time, so it was difficult to keep up with as a kid. It wasn't like Raw where you tune in every week and it was consistent. But
similar to the history of TNA in that respect.
Yeah, kind of, instead of it all being on pay-per-view and trying to find certain things and witness certain things, it didn't work out the best of ways, but I did stick around and see what I could. I was a really big fan of Taz. I liked him a lot. I liked the allure and kind of the mystique around him. Sabu was a badass. I was watching at that point and every episode was a car crash, so there was always something exciting.
Here's the funny thing for me with this. I am respectful with the history of ECW. When ECW was a thing, I never saw a lick of it. My introduction to ECW was, so-and-so comes to WWE. Oh, yeah, they used to be in ECW. I've heard of that. Oh, so-and-so came from ECW. Oh, I've heard of that. Maybe maybe more of those guys will come over here. So-and-so tag team just came over. They used to be in ECW. Oh, I've heard of ECW. But then you start noticing, similarities. And I would say the same thing later on in my life, because I never watched ROH either. But when you started seeing a lot of ROH people come in, first starting with, obviously, your Daniel Bryans and your CM Punks and all that sort of thing. Later on in NXT, your Adam Coles, your Kyle O'Reillys, your Bobby Fishes. And it's okay, there's a similarity, there's a vibe, there's a flavor to these guys. Not that that's any kind of bad thing, not that they were copying each other. But I found it to be the same thing with the ECW guys, because I was introduced to, Taz, Tajiri, Benoit, the Dudleys, and they had individual characters, some better developed characters than WWE had, let's be real for a second, but they had a certain flavor to them. So my introduction to ECW is, hey, all these new guys that you like so much, they all came from this place.
So you had a totally different...
I have a totally different view of that.
Yeah, view, upbringing, and intro.
To add to that, it's even one bit more removed from me with them going to the ECW arena, the 2300 arena, because my experience with that venue is how much time TNA spends there.
Yes.
When they do shows there. So to me, even though they go there, they pay ridiculous respect to the ECW people that came before them. Typically, Bully Ray's involved in something, Tommy Dreamer's involved in something, so they've always got that link to it. But to me, it's almost just as much a TNA venue, which is why one of the matches that we're going to talk about later on tonight makes so much sense. I'm surprised, if anything... We've got some ECW involvement. I'm surprised we don't have more TNA involvement than we do. Not saying that we couldn't have that added, because we only have technically 3 matches announced. So my introduction to ECW is sort of secondhand. My introduction to the 2300 arena is actually through TNA. So I've got... I don't want to say I have a lesser view going into this, because they're definitely taking the ECW angle of it, but I think I come at it at a pretty unique angle. It feeds more generically into the conversation that we had a couple weeks ago in St. Louis when they couldn't fill the arena. They went to a more appropriate venue. Other companies could do the same.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to get the most out of exploring some of these smaller venues, and I think it's really smart, and I think them going back to the PC and then doing something like this, going back to the PC, then maybe doing something at the Hammerstein, going back to the PC, maybe coming up here to the Rico, rather than trying to make it a touring brand every week, because I don't think they're quite there yet. But I think it's an interesting to pick key historical small wrestling venues, because you're not going to get a Raw at the ECW arena or a SmackDown. You're not going to get even a B pay-per-view at the Hammerstein, because WWE is bigger than that. NXT can fill that gap with those venues. I think this is off the back of their first 2 on the road shows. This is really promising, just
Absolutely.
As far as a direction and a choice for a venue. So I'm really excited to see what it looks like. I don't want them to totally mock up the old ECW entranceway and whatever. I do want them to kind of say it's us here now, here's our stamp on it. Maybe, like I showed you the logo earlier, the NXT done up in the ECW font or something cool like that. But I don't want it, like you say, you don't want it to be an impression, an homage, an entire tribute show And I think, like I said, repeating myself now, I think they've balanced that out quite well.
Yeah, no kidding.
Now,
you think about it, NXT starts off super strong. They go ahead and have a first ever women's casket match on top of Zarya's debut night, and them just, eventually forming the Avengers of women's tag wrestling. I couldn't be happier with this episode from top to bottom. And then on top of it, I mean, like you said, they're weaving in and out of their out of the Performance Center shows nicely. They're building up to things. There was a huge swell of excitement and things to be learned when, hey, what are they going to look like? What is the entrance going to be? What is it? All these different types of things coming off of the CW shows. Then they go right into the PLE for Halloween Havoc, and now we have this big ECW 2300 show. And I'm telling you, they're just making it seem more and more epic. So
I think they had, and we're not going to review this week's episode because anything that needs to be said about this week's episode has kind of already been said, and it led up to next week. But I think once again they threaded the needle like they did before with the on-the-road shows leading into Halloween Havoc, and now Halloween Havoc leading into this. You had one episode of NXT that had to be all the fallout from Halloween Havoc and the entire build to this show in one night.
Yeah, and I like the way that they're involving main roster storylines as well every now and again to keep people going. Like, Rhea's there. Rhea gets attacked and damn near destroyed. I do wonder if that
becomes something. I did have one idea. I don't think they're going to do it because there's a pay-per-view and another Monday Night Raw before this. But there's potential. There's potential there for sure. We do have to talk about going back. First of all, let's throw people over to your channel because all of our review and thoughts of Halloween Havoc is up over on your channel. Got in there live, got in there with your people in your chats and whatnot, and most of them don't mind me being there, I guess.
Yeah, no, we had a great response. Everybody had a good time.
Everybody head over to Countdown Ended and check out that shit and show Jake some love. Show him some love on Twitter, even though I don't think he can tweet yet.
Hopefully soon.
Hopefully soon. You versus Elon Musk is turning into an Iron Man match.
Absolutely. But I am just thoroughly enjoying what they've done so far. And a lot of it is just because it's logical. It makes sense. There's a thread that starts in the beginning of the night. Something happens backstage. There's more story that develops, and then it continues out in the ring. And then there's something to set up next week.
I like the fact that they, on their pay-per-views now, they're doing a good job of plugging the next week's show. They did the stuff with Lexis King and Charlie Dempsey and the Regal stuff that's playing into this whole, I don't think it's going to work personally, but this whole arc of like Lexis King is like trying to not be a scumbag, which is unfortunate because he plays a really good scumbag with his CGI printed facial hair and everything. Yes. The rumor is that they're just bringing William Regal out on TV a little bit so that in a couple of weeks he can come out on SmackDown and say War Games. And if that's the case, then fine.
Hey, I'll take it.
I mean, they brought him out on the other show, on the other side, to say blood and guts. But they don't borrow things from WWE. Remember that. Remember that.
Certainly not.
The Hurt Business was such a spit in the face and a slap in the face that we're going to do the exact same thing over here.
We're just going to make sure that we know that your wrestlers are known racists. That's why they're picking feuds with Moxley. They don't care.
The KKK Combat Club. Oh my God. Oh, that I don't even want to get into it because that whole Bobby Lashley interview could be a podcast in and of itself. But wish him the best. He's taken a step down in my opinion, but so many have, and so many people have realized their error, and so many have come back. Looking at Cody, who started the company and such and such and such.
I mean, even Dave Meltzer said nice words about NXT, saying that he loved the build-up and portrayal of Zarya following her debut, how she was just treated like a massive, epic star. That match she had was great, and I genuinely loved a few of the spots in there. For her to go ahead and essentially be breaking that girl's arm. What was her name?
Was it Brinley Reese?
Brinley Reese, yeah.
Okay.
And because she's, extra flexible, she's able to go ahead and hyperextend her elbow.
But see, what I think is cool about that, I forgot about that, but now that you've mentioned it, what they've done is they've taken something from a couple years ago that I already thought was cool, and they've made it better.
Yes.
Because you remember when they used to do the submit, because Alexa Bliss showed that she could do the double jointed thing with her elbow, right? And that was the end of the match because the referee thought it was so fucking gross and let's get her some medical attention. They did it to Brinley Reese, and then Zarya, I'm gonna have to get used to calling her Zarya because I've been, hyping up Delta and whatever. Like snapped it back into place. Basically said, I'm not done beating the shit out of you yet.
Yes, and then
but she didn't come. But the thing, at the same time, she didn't come off as a heel or as a monster. She just came off of, look what the fuck I can do.
Exactly.
And that's a really weird thing to try to thread together without, because Brinley Reese is such a happy, positive baby face and whatever. How do you destroy this girl, break her arm, put it back together, and beat her, and still not come off as well? I don't think she's necessarily a face, but she's not a heel.
Not a heel, yes. And
monster
that's
push, and she's babyface by default when we talk about some other stuff later on. But before we get too much into that, before we get into the NXT Ladies Avengers team, because I'm probably going to wrap up the pod with that, we have to talk about one of them that performed on Halloween Havoc. There we go. It was Julia Stephanie Vacour taking on the champ and Cora Jade, and she came out with the cool Sugar Skull makeup, half face, a la Thunder Rosa. Really, really cool. Fit with the Halloween motif. Fit with, like, take me seriously, I'm a fucking star, and she is. And, of course, people had to freak out. Oh, my God, they're ripping off AEW. Oh, my God, somebody ordered Thunder Rosa from Wish and all this other shit. And the first person to jump to her defense was Thunder Rosa. Basically, I think her tweet was in Spanish, and it was translated to English.
Yes.
Somebody can correct me down in the box below, obviously. But it was something to the effect of, there's nothing quite like somebody in another...
Nothing beats getting some love from your friends in other promotions.
Yes. I was going to do another on the other side. But basically, the person that you're accusing her of ripping off was the first person to come to her defense. Please touch grass. I promise it won't hurt.
Right. I mean, I don't even know why this is an issue. It shouldn't be. But
yes, you do. Yes, you do.
It shouldn't be, but it is. And I mean, how silly can you be? You have the woman that she's supposedly ripping off, saying, "Hey, by the way, thanks
it was really
for
cool,
paying
actually.
homage to me. I love that." You had her in the same night also go ahead and do a little homage to Rey Mysterio as well. So that was cool to see Vacour go ahead and do that. She whipped out the 619.
And people lost their minds because Cora Jade did a coffin drop. Like, it's Halloween Havoc. And also, I like Darby Allin. Let's not get it twisted. I like Darby. He's one of the few reasons to actually watch Dynamite. But he doesn't know the move. Friggin', when they were in COVID times and they had the chain link fence around the audience, what's her name? Shotzi Blackheart was doing coffin drops off of the cage. And nobody said shit. But now that NXT's winning again, let's nitpick every little thing.
Exactly. And I mean, the Dark Angel there, she signed in July? So she came across really quick. Same with Julia, same with everybody. And they managed to make everybody equally feel like a big deal still. Halloween Havoc was great. The faces won, but they didn't do anything to damage the heels. It didn't make me want to see them any less. Nothing of that sort.
I think I mentioned that the match changed pace a little bit when Cora Jade was in there, when she was the legal person involved. But when you see the gulf of experience between her and the other three people in the match, you'd almost kind of expect that.
Yes.
And like I said, I think I said this on your stream, I kind of wish I didn't notice that because I like Cora Jade. But Cora Jade is where she is, and she's been humbled by injury upon injury upon surgery upon injury. Roxanne Perez had an entire career before NXT. These ladies have clearly had shining careers before NXT. You can't expect one to be like the other. When we talk about this Avengers team that we're going to talk about in a second, Kalani Jordan is on the Avengers team.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I like Kalani Jordan a lot. I think you and I came together on her relatively quickly.
Yes.
But I expect her to play her role in the match that we're going to talk about later on. I just thought it was like, when we talk about, I mean over all of wrestling, WWE, NXT, Raw, SmackDown, TNA, AEW, anybody still watching ROH, some other companies around the world, representation is a huge conversation. It's sometimes an overblown conversation, but it's still a conversation that's definitely out there. You've got one brand that is absolutely a wrecking ball of a women's division. Why would you not celebrate that?
Exactly. And you want to talk next level. I mean, my God, these women have managed to really just... Whew. I
told you that tag should have main evented, and I stick to it. I know they did the big angle with Bully Ray at the end of Halloween Havoc, but I told you this a couple of pods ago. I'm gonna be one of those assholes that's really picky about structure and order and what makes it on the card and what doesn't make it on the card, because WWE/NXT have raised themselves to a certain standard. I'm gonna hold them to it now. There was a match last night on NXT that I wish had been on the... two, actually.
Really?
You could have given me the
tag match, the main event?
The tag match, if it wasn't for the Fugazi ending, like if it actually had an ending. But the match itself before the ending happened, that and the coffin match should have been on the card.
I think the coffin match definitely should have been on Halloween Havoc.
You could have taken the Ridge on. No offense to them. Man, that match dragged. I went back and watched a little bit of it today to try and see if I could pull something from it that I didn't see the first. It was just not great.
No.
It was just not great. And then,
I know that he had to destroy everybody to look strong, but that's part of the problem here, because you thought Ridge was going to lose. This was going to be like his comeuppance moment. So because we didn't get that, it just...
And the thing is, like, it was a really, really bad match to set up him popping up in the main event and attacking Trick and whatever. It's like he had, and again, Bully said it this week on NXT. The guy's been through shit. Like, he went through the stuff with the Big E incident. He went through that horrible shit where he basically fucked both of his legs at once.
Yeah, like, he broke them both so badly.
I remember watching that on the night and just being like, and then when the thing with, I'm sorry, like, no disrespect to Big E, big love for the guy, hope he comes back, hope he becomes part of this breakup of the New Day thing, want every good thing in the world for Big E, but as soon as that happened, I'm like, they're never going to let him hear the end of this.
No, and
hopefully...
They haven't really let him, but...
I mean, it's not as loud. It's more a generic, people kind of think he sucks and is boring, which is fine. You're allowed to have that opinion. That's different than, oh, you tried to kill that guy and it must be because you're, and he's,
Yeah, exactly.
Gonna go start a rally. Anyways, but what I mean,
maybe we can get Walter to, kick that one off.
Oh God,
excuse me, Gunther.
I'm gonna get my shit torn down, and I'm not even monetized.
Yeah.
I was going somewhere with that. My point was, the match was so bad that I think he had, like, anti-momentum behind him when he came back for the spot with Trick at the end. That's obviously going to set up what we're talking about here. I was just like, you could have taken that off. You could have done that this week to set up the tag match this week, and it all could have been done in one night. You could have... Yes, the Wendy Chu, Tatum Paxley thing was a bit silly. Wendy Chu came out with a bed.
But it was still a damn good match. She went through the bed and got
away from the casket.
Destroyed.
Hey, even that one guy at What Culture that loves to shit on NXT admitted that this was a good match outside of the actual stipulation.
Yeah, and the stipulation wasn't even that bad because it made sense for the two creepy bitches.
It was a casket match. I think you and I both said it because it had the big compartment underneath the casket. I was like, I bet Rosemary's in there. That wasn't the case. It was just a big platform. Because they both had to fall into it, right? So I guess they reinforced it a little bit, which is fine. She fell through a bed, which was basically a table with a mattress on it that then got knocked off, so she could get knocked through it and it would actually hurt.
Yeah.
The pillowcase full of Legos, it's like, oh, if it was a badass company, it would have been thumbtacks. Okay.
The Legos are supposed to hurt.
Chris Jericho used hockey pucks. Let's move on. And I like Chris Jericho.
But other people have also used Legos as well. It's not been a...
Well, people said that in the main event of the pay-per-view, the nuts and bolts thing, it's like, I wouldn't want to fall on nuts and bolts. Like, let's just be real for a second.
And now I know there are more washers than nuts and bolts, but still.
These
still
people
looked
just,
good.
Like, I wouldn't want to fall on the mat Never mind anything else being on the mat. Like, this is what people don't realize, and it's like, it's why you don't have to elevate stuff to syringes and cinder blocks, because, you know what? I bet falling on an orange pylon would hurt.
Yeah.
I bet falling against a chair would hurt. I bet bumping into the referee hurts if you do it the wrong way. You don't have to do much. And I'm sorry, Lego, anybody that's got kids, nephews, nieces, little brothers, little sisters, like, Lego's a real thing.
Legos, that's why people complain. Parents know how bad Legos hurt. Legos are no freaking joke. Legos hurt bad, and there's a reason they hurt bad, and it's because they're not really pliable. They don't move all that much. They're pretty much sturdy where they are, and they're very sharp for what they're doing as well. So, not a great feeling.
I was watching another feed earlier this week. I think it was just it wasn't the Wrestling for Life guys, who are always awesome. Go check them out. But it was another feed that was sort of reacting after the show was over, and somebody just got in the chat and was like, I'm not joining this argument, but I've literally cut my foot open on a piece of Lego. There it is. There you go. All right.
I've seen some bad Lego injuries before, so it's not impossibly, hard to fathom that someone gets fucked up on a Lego.
Okay, so we got to talk about the bad faith grifters on the internet, because of course we do, because we're about to go head to head with the other show.
Yes.
Typically, and I'm sure we're going to get it this time as well. The accusation that we get, and you and I have talked about it 100 times. Oh, NXT only won because they're cheating. They brought in so-and-so from the main roster. They did this, they did that, and whatever. And to which my answer has always been, okay, tell me who's not allowed to show up on Dynamite.
Yes.
Right? That's the typical one. But here's the thing where
and think of all the people that we have gotten to show up on Dynamite as well. I mean, it's been a crapshoot of... Anytime someone has a little itty bit of online momentum about them, a la the Tony... the pizza guy that had to flip pizza in the ring for 20 seconds during a inner circle or whatever promo. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Like, we got Tony Luigi flipping pizza because he was famous online for 30 seconds. Like, they get any and everybody they can to generate a buzz. A la the Costco guys, as we were discussing earlier as well.
Who I didn't even know about until people were making fun of the QT match. Here's my point, though.
Yeah, it's on the pre-show, but...
Here's my point, though. Typically, we would get the cheating thing, which is an absolute logic loop in and of itself. We don't need to go over it again, even though we just did. What I'm getting this time around is the bad faith grifters don't even know which argument they're making. So here's the thing. If you want to say, and I don't know, NXT's kind of both, people want to say, our people on our side want to say, oh, it's awesome, like, look how bad AEW is, they're so down. They got beaten by WWE's developmental, and they'll spring up, and they'll say, it's not a developmental program, they've got other people on there all the time, da-da-da-da, it's WWE's third brand, why are you trying to make it sound like developmental? Even Triple H said they beat our developmental, and that's not really true, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Now, hear me out.
The WWE ID, yes.
They got, well, not only that, but they got Bully Ray on there. Oh, Bully Ray's old, and Dawn Marie is old, and CM Punk's hanging out there, and he's old. I thought this was supposed to be developmental. So my question for the bad faith grifters is it the third brand? In which case, anybody's free game. Anybody should be free game anyway, because that's how AEW treats it. Or is it developmental, and are you getting your asses kicked by developmental? That's my question.
That's a good question to have, because you're left wondering after a while, like, which one is it? Because you don't really know anymore, do you? Mm-hmm. Because
they come in and Bully Ray, I'll pop for Bully Ray. I hope the Hardys show up, the brand new TNA World Tag Team Champions, the Hardy Boys.
Yes.
In the 2300 arena, in the ECW arena, with Bully Ray, doing a what's up. I hope something like that happens. But they're in there. It's having a good time. They're showing some reverence for Devon. Oh, my God, why are they kissing Devon's ass so much? Flip the coin. Oh, my God, TK.
Why are they kissing?
TK is such a god. Look at the reverence he treated Sting with. Okay, but he's old, too.
Sting and Bully Ray were facing off 10 years ago.
Oh, my God.
You know, we had that a decade ago.
I still care about one of them.
Right?
I'm sorry, but I've gone a little while without seeing Bully Ray.
One of them.
I've gone a long time without seeing Bully Ray. I saw him have a tables match with fucking, what's his name, Raj Desi on the MLP show. Give me some more Bully Ray. He was hanging out with Harley Cameron and QT Marshall. She did the whole freak out in the back, and he did the really, really good, like, what the fuck have I gotten myself into thing. It's Bubba Ray Dudley in the ECW arena for one night only. Get the fuck over it. And Dawn Marie hasn't even been on television yet, and people are already shooting her off.
If
she's going to show up. She's going to show up on the NXT, which is supposed to be for young people, and she's probably got cobwebs on her crotch and da da da. I'm like, that's a joke I wouldn't even make.
No, but here's the thing: if Bubba shows up next week, and then in the middle of the main event he turns on Trick, and then he's going to be with Ridge every week, and they're going to be a gruesome twosome. You know what I mean? We got to deal with it. All right, then people might be able to say, hey, you know, they'd taken away. But Bubba even made the claim, I don't want to take away someone's spot, because he knew that was going to be what they said. And then he allowed the heels to basically goad him into the match later on.
And
it was perfect.
If Bully Ray, old past his prime, grumpy radio host Bully Ray, gets in the ring next week and say he tries to do something and he misses and he twists his ankle, you know what that makes him? That makes him just as good as Top Flight. Fuck off. I don't hate Top Flight. It's just the most, like, they've been riddled with injuries. They're the best example I could think of. It's going to be a lot of fun.
I can't even tell the difference between Darius and Dante Martin. And then they throw, what's his name with him? Oh, my God, I can't remember. Action Andretti.
Action Andretti, who had to get a tan before he joined the group. Oops.
Yes.
Did I say that out loud? Oh, no. But, yeah, here's my question, not necessarily for you, but, like, for the bad faith grifters out there that are just angry that WWE's having a good time, let alone it being an NXT thing. They've given up on competing with Raw or SmackDown. Competing with NXT is all they have left. It's sad. I know your team is losing. Our team was losing for a while, and I got grumpy, but I didn't go and make up shit. This is the point.
Certainly
so
not.
To the bad faith grifters out there, is NXT a third brand, in which case they can bring in whoever the fuck they want and treat it just like any other of your brands? Or are they developmental, and do you have to swallow your pride and admit that a developmental is kicking your flagship show's ass?
Exactly.
Genuine question. If you're listening to this on YouTube, put it down in the comment section below, and I dare you to find me on X, at Spaz Phoenix, find this guy, at Countdown Ended, and give me a logical answer.
Yeah,
one or
let
the
us
other.
know.
Because here's the funny thing, and you mentioned the WWE ID thing. We're not going to get into a whole thing about it today. We will get into it deeper if we get a chance to sit down and talk about Crown Jewel. But the immediate reaction to the WWE ID thing is like, oh, well, I guess the NIL program didn't work. And it's like, no, these are going to work in tandem, and it's going to be the best version of NXT we've had. Pull people from amateur athletics, pull people from the indie scene, have it be an actual melting pot, not a pretend one like Canada is. Oops, did I say that out loud?
And you give people a chance to actually go ahead
They're going to have the best version of NXT.
Yeah.
And they're going to hate it.
Hey, they get to hone their craft while we get to, you know?
And by the way, nobody's forcing these schools to enroll in the WWE ID program.
No, but they get to hone their craft and not worry about where their next meal's coming from if they're going to be able to afford a gym membership, you know?
And they get to benefit from a little bit of a platform, a little bit of encouragement, a couple extra, encouraging words from a couple of people they may not have been able to talk to before. But let's be real. Let's be blatant. Okay, I guess we are talking about it right now. But let's be real about it for a second. This is not them going and poaching the indies. This is people already. This is Black and Brave, which is Seth Rollins. This is the Nightmare Factory, which is Cody Rhodes. This is, I can't remember the name of it, but Rikishi's school. This is Reality of Wrestling, which is Booker T's school. Like, it's all people that I'm pretty sure they were scooping talent from anyway.
Regardless, and they're going to be working with QT and, Cody's brother, and so, come on now. I mean, we can say Dustin. We don't have to treat him like he's...
I know, but... he who shall not be named. I know, yeah, I did the same thing. The other brother. But it's like, it's a cool thing. It opens the door for a lot of cool things. I understand the criticism from some. I understand the concerns from some. relating to a WWE that doesn't exist anymore, and a WWF that doesn't exist anymore, and a WWF that doesn't exist anymore. These are the people that need to be reminded that this version of WWE/NXT, this creative, this recruitment, this WWE that's run by Triple H, that's under the umbrella of TKO, has existed for what? Maybe 3 years?
Exactly.
Oh, look back in their history. Their history is only 3 years long.
Give it a chance.
Yep. The ghost of Vince. Fuck off.
I'm so tired of hearing about that because Vince is not there anymore.
Vince is starting another company. Go bitch about that.
Exactly.
This guy that we don't like gets to go on living and breathing air. Please touch grass. I swear to God.
And what they're getting with Vince either, it's like, oh, he's going to be making a whole other company. Go worry about that kind of shit, like you said, instead of worrying about anything else.
I was going to say, I'll give you a free pass. Go bitch about the fact that Vince gets to still have a life even though you don't like him. Go bitch about that. Cool. I'll give you a free, here's your token, here's your pat on the head. Fuck off and get out of my good wrestling. You know what else You know what else I got this weekend, though? I think I might have mentioned this on your channel. I don't think I've mentioned it here yet.
No.
Finally got the pop-up notifications and the pop-up schedule notifications on Netflix for Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and I think I got one for the Royal Rumble as well.
So cool that they're doing that. And so are the PLEs going to be on Netflix?
I believe so.
For you, yes, right? You're going to have everything on Netflix.
Yep.
See, I still have to go.
I don't know about
Peacock for a while.
I don't know about. Yeah, I think you guys are riding it out a little bit longer. I think you guys are riding out some TV deals as well. Because you guys are getting Raw, correct?
Yes, just Raw.
You're going to get NXT to the end of the CW deal. You're going to get SmackDown to the end of the new USA deal, and you're going to get Peacock until the end of the Peacock deal.
Yes.
Everything we have, like live, week to week, the PLEs, Raw, SmackDown, NXT, starts the first week of January for us.
Nice. So you get it all together.
We get all the live week-to-week stuff. I don't know. I've heard conflicting things about them moving the actual library over.
Okay.
Because that's a lot to ask Netflix to take on.
Yes. But it's a good place to
And I don't know how any of that shit worked. And I'm sorry, guys, maybe I'm the only one. I don't go to the library that often. I go to the network for what's happening now.
Yeah, I usually go to their YouTube to find stuff. If it's not on there,
I'm finding
it elsewhere.
Yeah, if you told me that the network was gone, like the library or whatever, it would hurt a lot of people. It would maybe hurt me if I was doing like retro content, like if I was still doing like NXT Rewind or something like that, but I could go and find those. If you told me that all that was coming to Netflix was Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and the pay-per-views, I'd be set. I'd be happy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'd be like, it's the whole like, oh, you're coming home from running errands and Raw's already started. Okay, pull out your phone and catch the first 20 minutes of Raw on the bus on the way there. Like,
exactly.
Stupid little oddball shit like that we're going to be able to do. Plus, it's really the only reason I still have cable. Like, it really is.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Everything else I'm watching is on some sort of streaming service.
There's the only thing that I watch live on TV right now is just, in fact, WWE stuff.
The rest of the time, I'm on YouTube watching people like us be assholes, or I'm watching The Penguin, which is really good. And if you're not watching The Penguin, you should be watching The Penguin.
I think I'm going to check it out when it's all out finally and binge it all at once.
Yeah. Binge it if you want, but they do cram a lot into each episode, so you can sit down and make a meal out of each episode if you chose to.
If need be. Gotcha.
Anyways, we should probably get into the card now that we're done with all the bullshit.
Yes, indeed.
Lola Vice taking on Jada Parker in a hardcore match with a special guest referee, Dawn Marie. It's going to be fun. I like these two ladies in the ring. They tried to put them as a tag team for one match, and it fell apart almost immediately, which was hilarious.
But I like that's the story there.
Yep.
You know, it's like, hey, they tried to function and coexist. They couldn't. They hate each other, and now they're going to kill each other in a hardcore match.
I don't know what role Dawn Marie plays in here, rather than does one of them become a smartass and she basically slaps them back at some point. Do we have Joey Styles come out on the rampway and be like, oh my god, it's a cat fight? If you're going to do a hardcore match, do it with these two ladies that aren't afraid to hit each other. Like Lola Vice specifically, but Jada Parker has held her own as well. Jada Parker, along with I don't want to call her Michin, Mia Yim,
Yeah.
have kind of proven that, like, they're in the mid-card, but throw them in a hardcore match, and they'll throw themselves into it.
Yes,
So,
they will. I mean, even Chelsea Green destroyed herself in that match, in the
Chelsea Green's
dumpster
just
match.
completely underrated overall. So I hope, here's a spoiler for the Crown Jewel preview that we're going to do, hopefully tomorrow, in the midst of Halloween-ness. I really hope Piper and Chelsea win the tag titles.
I hope
Crown
so
Jewel.
as well. I really do, because Chelsea's great, and I remember her in Lucha Underground being getting the crap kicked out of her.
I never saw her. I never saw the Hot Mess thing either.
And
I missed her being that in both companies where she did that. But I just hope she wins. I mean, Damage Control aren't going to lose anything.
She was another
losing.
Zarya Delta, taking on the men and doing mixed, tag matches and shit. And I mean, Zarya's
especially with some of the women that are coming into NXT right now. Can we please try some intergender wrestling?
I hope we get some eventually, because Zarya is right there taking on top promotions. And not just like quick things either. She was, in Riot City Wrestling, and it was cool to see RCW go ahead and shout out NXT. They're like, nice. Delta, now known as Zarya, go check out her official debut. We're proud and honored to say she got her start right here, RCW Academy.
That's cool.
A multi-time RCW men's champion. Like she killed it.
So
there.
like how they treated Jordan Grace in TNA.
Yes, exactly.
Very
and
nice.
You can see some of her biggest matches they have all on their YouTube channel now for free. They did a playlist, and you're talking about main event.
I just shot myself.
Ago.
I just shot myself in the foot too, because I'm talking here about look at all these jacked women that NXT has now. I'm at Destiny. Yes, check it out for Spaz Phoenix bucket list. It's fine. You know who's mixing it up with the guys the most is Alexia Nicole. Alexia Nicole's tiny. Like, she's great. Like, she's one of my favorite people at Destiny, but she's tiny, and she's mixing it up with the men, and she's mixing it up with bigger men than the other men are mixing it up with. It's like in the Gauntlet on TNA this past weekend. Look at all the big jack dudes that were in the ring when Tasha Steelz came out.
Yeah.
And Tasha Steelz isn't huge, but you see the size differential between her and them, and she held her own. Good for her. Big fan of her. Hope she gets some cool shit soon. But imagine that size difference magnified, and that's what Alexia Nicole pulls off at Destiny. And if you're watching, or if you're listening to this story, and you have access to Fight Network, Destiny is actually broadcasting once a week on Fight Network now. Check it out. You'll probably hear me. You'll probably hear me shouting, "Kick him in the shin," a lot. It's my gimmick, because I'm a loser.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it works. Look at it or whatever,
I mean, there's about 20 of them in the match that we're going to talk about later. Lola and Parker, here's the thing. I don't know who's going to win, because I don't know if NXT has even decided who the face is. I don't care who the face is, because I like them both. But I feel like Lola Vice is going to get this one.
You think Lola Vice is going to win? I think Jada Parker's actually going to win. So I like enough. The difference we have
Some
there.
disparity there.
Yes.
The other rumor is that somehow Lita is going to be involved in this match, which I wouldn't mind. She's got some history in that building.
She was originally earmarked for the 10-woman tag match, so now having her involved in this is kind of interesting. I wonder
if she's going to do a quick run-in on this and not be in the other match, then maybe there's something keeping her from being more fully involved, and that's none of our business.
No,
but maybe
she can't be
if she's going to come down and I'm totally pulling this off the top of my head now. If Dawn Marie comes in and she's being a heel referee and she's siding with one of them, and Lita comes out to back up the other one because she's not going to let it go down that way, Jack, and suddenly it becomes like a tag team cat fight, old school ECW match. I would love the shit out of that. Lola Vice and Lita as a tag team. Lola and Lita as a tag team would be a lot of fun.
Lovely Lola. Milo agrees. He's excited, but no, honestly, we
talked about the Hardys winning their tag titles over the weekend, but I'm a big mark, so obviously I'm a big mark for Lita. I don't care what she
met her
comes out and says hello.
Lita was my crush. I always loved seeing Lita, so absolutely excited to see what she would be involved in there.
So all the NXT fans that have been insisting for months that AJ Lee is coming back, for one night only, that insistence is going to turn into a Lita insistence for a night.
Yeah.
I don't think this is the end of the feud, whichever way they go. The Dawn Marie stuff is going to come and go. The hardcore stipulation, because they're in the ECW arena, is going to come and go. I don't see this being the end. I'm going to go with Lola. You're going to go with Parker.
Yeah.
Doesn't really matter.
Either way, it's going to be a damn good match. But
the next one I want to talk about is not technically announced yet. They just kind of hinted at it at the end of NXT this week. Something is happening with Wesley and Javon Evans, because Wesley distracted Javon in the tag team match for the tag team championships, with Javon and Cedric taking on Frazier and Axiom, which was a fucking insane match, by the way.
It really was, and having Wes not be mindful enough to stay with his partner, he allowed his hatred of Wesley and their feud to blind him, essentially, and let him leave the match where they could have won and been the tag team champions. Cedric had things pretty single-handedly won for a while until the numbers game really got to them, and the dual finish was what was his undermining. But had he not been left by Javon, maybe they could have been new tag champs. So now do we see Cedric and Javon also have a feud? I mean, is that a possibility, especially with Cedric kind of being like, it's okay to do bad things? What do we see here?
I think Javon has this one-off match that we've been waiting for a couple of weeks with Wes Lee, and they get a second go around and maybe pick up the tag titles after that. A lot of people are saying it, and I think I might be on board. Low-key, Frazier and Axiom, maybe WWE Tag Team Champion of the Year? Or
yes.
tag team of the year?
Yes, I knew what you meant. Tag team champions, tag team. Yeah, I mean they've been consistently, geez, I can't talk, delivering. I mean every single title defense, even the loss that they had was to further a great story. So I'm okay with it. People were upset with Braun Breaker losing, and then we saw why, and they stopped complaining. And it's like, exactly, give it a chance for things to
give
develop.
Jay something that can be taken away from him by the family, so he can go do the family stuff, so the Braun Breaker can have his championship back, and everybody has risen up at least one level. It's
exactly
fine. But I'm sorry, Frazier and Axiom. Yeah, I know that their thing is they're the team that's always fighting, and they're the team that's kind of a thrown together tag team, even though they've been together a long time.
Yes.
But I'm sorry, throw them on SmackDown, where you've got them, you've got DIY, and you've now got the Motor City Machine Guns.
Yeah.
And now that we have, and I'm sorry, I'm going to say it for both brands, they need to do it with Judgment Day as well, pull the tag team titles out of your faction stories. I used to be a big proponent of factions holding all the belts. I think it works more for your respective world titles, because when it's the tag titles, you get into like a New Day situation where, who's defending them tonight and blah, 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 blah. And meanwhile, you have tag teams that are just tag teams that fall by the wayside. It's happened to DIY. It happened to the Viking Raiders before they both got hurt. It happened to the War Raiders now. But, yes. So how many tag teams that are legitimate tag teams have gone kind of stale only because we know that those belts are seen as being higher because they're in a big faction storyline like the Bloodline or the Judgment Day, which is true, but you're also kind of holding them hostage.
Yeah, and we're not getting that now. We more or less have been seeing people, like you said, being elevated in these positions. So
I love the flash push of the Motor City Machine Guns. I love it as much as the Bad Faith Grifters on Twitter hate it.
Yeah.
Hey.
And
I think the War Raiders are going to take out Finn and JD, because I don't think things are all good in that camp. And if we look in our own community, that's not the only JD that's having a bad day. Let's just put it that way.
Certainly not. Not if you ask Joey Janela, the bad boy. So.
And Chris Hansen. But anyways. Okay, sorry, I'm going to say this now that we're on it, right? Another thing, just because it ties into tag team wrestling, it doesn't have anything to do with NXT. Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair, right? They've got the tag team match this coming weekend. We talked about it. Chelsea and Piper are the ones that I hope to win, whatever. There's a lot of people that are saying, no, have them stay champions until next year, have them lose the titles then, so that it can lead to them having a match at Mania. First of all, I don't want to see them have a match at Mania. I want them to do something else with Jade Cargill. Respectfully, I would love a break from Bianca Belair. Let Jade Cargill mix it up with some of the other bigger people, like your Rhea Ripley's, etc.
Yeah, absolutely.
But what it means is, we're in October now. It's almost November, not quite yet. October, November, December, January, February, March, April.
We're almost there.
7 months or so, right? You're going to hold those tag titles together for 7 months.
Just to go ahead and tell a story of what?
Yeah, you're holding the tag titles hostage for 7 months for the sake of a singles story.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense. It has nothing to do with me not liking Bianca Belair. I don't, but it's a logical fallacy.
I mean, we just got the titles away from the bloodline. Let's keep it away from people that are there for only story's sake, that are going to hold on to it and do nothing. You know?
I mean, at this point, I would say have them fall out, and Bianca Belair walks away, and okay, Jade needs another partner. She can tag with Naomi. It's not the most exciting thing either, but
it's not the worst situation either.
It's something. So. I don't know. Just a random thought, just as we're talking about tag teams being held hostage. I do think after this Wes Lee, Javon Evans thing is out of their system and Wes Lee moves on to something else, I do think they take a second kick at the cat and they do finally get those tag titles, and I do think we get Frazier and Axiom up on the main roster way sooner than we think, and I do hope it's on SmackDown, because I do want to see them face DIY, and I do want to see them face the Motor City Machine Guns.
SmackDown's got
yet another set of talents that made the right decision.
Yeah, they got the right things going on over there, and it seems like that's the better decision of it all, because SmackDown is more or less focusing on the tag titles. Not that Raw couldn't be, and they could still, but we haven't seen much with the Judgment Day defending their tag titles. But
here's the thing, though, as well, is look at who's there. Like, I would rather, like, I'm stoked that the War Raiders are back. I think they're going to win. I like the Creed brothers. There's a couple. I mean, AOP are there. But, like, do you want to see a team like Axiom and Frazier go up against them? Or, like I say, do you want to see them going up against Legado? Do you want to see them going up against DIY, Motor City Machine Guns? Even Frazier and Axiom are the type of team that Guerrillas of Destiny would look at and be like, who the fuck are these guys? And then have the kind of match that shows exactly who the fuck they are.
Exactly.
It's not a shade on the bigger guys on Monday Night Raw, because I want to see those guys have big beefy men slapping man meat Big E special matches.
Exactly, and I think we will get more of that, especially on Raw.
Now that I say that, throw them on Raw and let them have matches against Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio. You could have the same thing. Anyways, that was a long tangent to say Wes Lee and Javon Evans battled to the back at the end of NXT last week, and the last thing we saw was Rob Van Dam for the second time that night saying, "I think I know what I want to do next week." So here's the thing.
Do we see him as a special guest ref? Do we see him?
I don't think. But see, they've already got the.
Yeah, they've already got
the Don
that,
Marie thing. So the other thing, the less likelier thing, because he's so much bigger than the other two, I think it's a little bit of a mismatch. It's either going to be him being a referee, him coming and being a special commentator, or be a guy that's like, hey, I like this guy Javon, and he stands in his corner for a night.
Yeah.
Or do they give me what I want? If RVD is going to be in the ECW arena, do they just let this be a triple threat match?
I know, it makes you wonder.
I would love it to be a triple threat match. I'm not getting my hopes up, and the fact that Ava didn't make it official right then and there, like the GMs do most of the time.
Yeah, makes you wonder.
It kind of makes me think that they don't quite know, and they might be watching Twitter for what people are speculating versus what they don't want to speculate. Yeah, what kind of
reaction are we going to get? Yeah.
It's like, well, if people are hopping on Twitter, it's like, oh, it looks like they're trying to do a triple threat. Why would they do that? Oh, RVD would be a really cool referee. Like, they're taking the pulse.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want it to totally switch gears to where WWE is now like the ass kisser. Like, let's read every tweet, because that can go badly as well. But I do think they,
as we know,
yeah, everything's great. We don't need an audience. Who needs long-term storytelling? Everything's great. I've got Daddy's money.
Cancel Rampage.
I've got Daddy's money, and I'm sucking Sasha Banks' cock. Anyways, but you can do it properly, because it is true, let's be fair, WWE was way too guilty the other way of almost counter-booking the fans.
Yeah.
There is a happy medium. I think they've hovered around.
You don't want to do everything they expect, and don't want to do everything they don't expect either, because then you're just doing a swerve for swerve stakes, and we know how that turns out to be. Oh, yeah.
Well, this is what I said. We said it when we talked about the TNA show. Is there's in all the TNA matches, there's something I want to see, there's maybe something I don't want to see, there's maybe a result that I want, and they always give me a, I never really thought of that. Doesn't mean it's good or bad, but
Yeah.
I don't want to go into a show knowing everything that's going to happen either. Like we use the example of the Macklin and Alexander match. It's like, oh, these guys are going to smash the hell out of each other. No, they're going to do this really cool thing where one of them is handcuffed and still wins by being awesome.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm here to play the role of Darby Allin with muscles.
Yeah, exactly. With muscles.
Again, not a dig at Darby Allin before somebody gets in my comment section. Fuck off.
Yeah.
I have to say that every time. That's the world we live in.
Sadly.
As much as we've talked about it already, I don't really have much to say about the actual match other than I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Trick and Bully versus Ego and Ridge. I mean, the faces are going to win. It's going to be a cool ECW moment.
I think the faces will win, but
I would love it if it was anybody but Ridge. I
would as well, and I think that's kind of the problem here. I think they're pushing ahead with Ridge, and we got to see how they can sell it.
It's a really obvious thing for me to say. You know who I wish was in the Ridge position?
Who's that?
Oba.
Yeah. That would have been
Ridge winning his
much better.
Ridge winning his match and being so happy about his win that he went and took out the champion is not... I mean, it's fine. You're feeling yourself. You want to take a step up. You feel like you can take a step up. I guess that works. But I think Oba, being the monster that he is and losing and trying to get some face back and doubling down on I can kill anybody and going after the champion would have been 10 times better. And the stare down, because they're two, I don't think you could get two more different characters, two different eras, two different personalities of everything. The stare down between Bully Ray and Oba Femi would be epic and kind of hilarious.
And he kind of gave Oba a little bit of shit at one point, didn't he? Early on, I want to say.
I don't know. I don't remember. The only thing I remember is the stuff that he did with Ridge because it tied into this story. The only reason I remember Ridge is because Bully was talking to Ridge, and I remember Bully talking, and Ridge happened to be the person. And I mean, even Ego kind of looks like he's been pushed to the side a little bit in this.
A little bit, yeah.
I don't think is the greatest because you get Ridge on one hand, who's been to the main roster and come back down and trying to find himself and whatever, so that's a little bit muddy. The rumor is that they're going to send Ego up soon without giving him another run at the title for any significant amount of time. So you don't want him to be playing second fiddle to Ridge in
forever.
In what is kind of an exhibition match because they're in the ECW arena. That doesn't make it bad, but it is what it is.
It is what it is, like you said.
But he's going to be... What's he going to do? He's going to go lose to Trick again. He's going to lose to Trick at the pay-per-view, which is no bad thing. He's going to lose it here, playing second fiddle to Ridge, with a guest person that's only there for the night. It is... I'm the NXT guy. I love most of what they're doing. This is kind of watering down Ego a little bit for me, especially because the last promo he cut before the pay-per-view, he was on fire.
Yeah.
And
literally and figuratively.
Yeah, well...
So where they go from here...
I don't think they go anywhere from here. I don't think they're going to give us Ridge versus Trick, and if they do, it's going to be on a weekly episode.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to build up to that.
I'm sorry. Like I say, all credit in the world to him for what he's been through injury-wise and whatever, and he's not terrible. But holy fuck, he's boring, and don't put him in a main event.
Yeah, he's just not interesting right now, and I really don't know what they could do with him to make him interesting at this point. Is there a storyline? Is there anything? It just doesn't feel like there's anything that's going to make me care about Ridge.
Because
he's been there for so long, and he's just never accomplished anything worthwhile. It's just not capturing me at this point.
Because they're booking Oba as the monster right now, so you don't really have to worry about whether he's a face or a heel, I could see Ridge walking away from the ECW arena with his tail between his legs, wants to take a swing at the biggest, nearest guy around him, and is dumb enough to randomly call out Oba Femi just to have a monster match. I think that could be fun. I think you go into that match with limited expectations, keep it short, and they could do something, but there's a whole lot of shoulds and coulds in there.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, Ego's probably going up sometime soon. People are saying early call up for Oba as well. I'm all for that, but at the same time, I don't want him to go without winning the main title, because not everybody gets to come back.
No kidding.
That being said, him answering a random open challenge from Braun Breaker would be insane. Because
that would be a great moment.
It would be a great moment. It would be a
week.
It would be a great moment. I think it would be a great match because they're two very different kinds of explosive. But at the same time, they're both awesome explosive guys. Which one do you have lose?
Exactly.
I don't know.
And there you're kind of in a damned if you do, damned if you don't scenario.
See, here's the problem as well, and I don't see it as necessarily a problem as we come on here as we fawn over the NXT women's division, deservedly so. The guys are kind of treated on NXT like the women are treated in every other brand out there. Raw, I'm saying Raw, SmackDown, AEW, or maybe not ROH because they know Athena's awesome, but like even TNA sometimes. But on NXT, it feels quite reverse in the fact of this is a women's show, and occasionally there's some guys matches on there. Like, if you look at this past week's episode of NXT, the guys had a really good main event tag match. Cool. But what were the guys doing other than that? Promos, backstage stuff. I mean, not everybody likes the Heritage Cup stuff. Everything the ladies did banged. We said
to an extreme level.
The casket match banged. Even Kalani Jordan and Nikita Lyons wasn't the worst thing in the world. A lot of people are being really shitty to Nikita Lyons because they think she's in the story with Obafemi, and that's racist somehow. I don't really know. She just got back. Maybe fuck off a little bit. I mean, the stuff we're going to talk about in a second, as I keep saying. But, like, the ladies really are in the forefront of NXT, which by default means the guys are in the back front, which is fine, because it's a nice balance, because in every other on every other show, including WWE, it is the other way around, and the ladies are in the background. So it's really cool to see, but then you come to a conversation like this, and it's like, oh, what do we do with this guy? I don't know. Or what do we do with Ridge? I don't know. What do we want to do with Obafemi? And they're all cool, and they're all kind of floating around, and it's the ladies that have direction, which is fucking awesome, unless you're one of those guys.
Yeah.
I don't know. It is a credit to NXT. I'm not shitting on it. It's if you want to have NXT be your female forward. I would rather have a female forward show than another Evolution once a year, because then it's just token bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, Trick and Bully are winning this. There's no way.
There's no way around it.
There's no way. Yeah.
I mean, it's also here reported that we're going to see more at the former ECW arena, the 2300. I mean, we know Bubba Ray and Rob Van Dam are the men showing up, and as we said, Lita was noted. But it also says here that besides Jordan Gray showing up, to be on that 501 team, there's more at hand. There's more at stake. There's more coming.
Okay.
So at least we know there's going to be a few more surprises, according to Shawn Michaels.
The FBI are going to be there.
Yes, there was
that phone call with
Nunzio.
And see, that's cool, and in a different way. And I'm going to give credit to What Culture because they mentioned this on the podcast. It's cool to get the big shit. It's cool to know Dawn Marie's coming to do this. It's cool to know, hey, Bubba Ray's going to be in a match. RVD might be doing something with the guys, whatever. And those are the names you would maybe not Dawn Marie, but the other two for sure.
Exactly.
Are the people you would think of. If you said, oh, we're doing an ECW tribute show, with due respect, the first names that I would pull out of my hat would not be the FBI until you say, okay, who from ECW would you have work with the family? It's like, well, then let's just pull out our Rolodex of national stereotypes.
You heard that for some people that watch Halloween Havoc and don't usually watch NXT. They're like, oh, it's just a rip-off of, previous Italian gimmicks. But aren't all Italian gimmicks kind of the same? And I think Tony D's done a good deal at making himself the Don and making it really stand out and making him be an important factor of everything. So him holding the title, having the family around him, I think could be a lot of fun.
If I can double down one more time on what I said on your stream the other day, I think the fact that they all know that they're more character than wrestlers, so every time they wrestle, they're wrestling against that idea,
Exactly.
is really starting to show.
Yeah, and it's not the worst thing. And as I said before, and I don't want to overstate it, but really, I mean, they had a huge angle that really, kind of alters what happens at Crown Jewel by taking out Rhea Ripley, because now she's a non-factor in the Liv Morgan match, we're assuming, and that keeps her from, because why didn't Rhea get involved and screw over Liv? Because Liv beat her with a baseball bat. I mean, they left her.
Apparently the network was upset about that. They said, it might have been a little this, a little that, and it's like, okay.
They did a great job making her look like a total bloody mess, and I mean, they made her look beaten, and I loved it, because it was so random to have Rhea there with all the women doing a little backstage thing, being like, okay, this is interesting, but all right, sure.
You know what? Fantasy Booker brain, and as a big middle finger to all the, oh my god, NXT's cheating again thing. Imagine if last minute this 10-woman tag becomes a 12-woman tag.
It could be. I mean,
throw Liv on one side, throw Rhea on the other.
I doubt they'll do it, but
fantasy
booking would be great.
You know what it is, though, right? And yes, obviously, I'm going to stick up for the people that I like, and people are now, it's Rhea Hogan, and I'm like, fuck off, first of all. But like, she just destroys everybody, and she doesn't sell anything, and da-da-da-da. Rhea Ripley, out of all of them, has no problem looking like she's been destroyed. Like, she had all the stuff with her leg when she got hung up. She got this on NXT. She's played with other things in the past where she's had to, like, miss matches because of X, Y, and Z. She was gone for a while with the, undisclosed health stuff. I think it was everything that led up to her being basically the main eventer at the Australia show. Like, exactly. She was basically doing background Judgment Day stuff, maybe hitting the odd riptide because she was recovering from like X, Y, and Z in real life. But it also kept her out of the ring. It also kept her, out of this, that, and the next.
It did.
They had to basically do that angle where they fucked up her leg to make the match with her and Liv look even remotely even. And now, like you say, she's fucking ragdoll in the parking lot. NXT parking lot continues to be the most dangerous place in wrestling. So there's a little bit of that. There's a little bit of, she's got a heater behind her now in Raquel Rodriguez. Like, yes, Rhea Ripley is a star, so WWE treats her like a star. I know some people aren't used to companies that will actually treat their star women like stars, but Rhea Ripley does not half care about looking like she's had her ass handed to her.
No, she
Go
doesn't.
back to NXT or NXT UK. Check out the matches she had with Piper. Check out the matches she had with Tony. Check out the matches she had with fucking Shayna Baszler when Shayna Baszler was being used properly. Like, she won, but she came out of some of those matches. Yeah, sure I won, but do I look like a winner? Like, it's insane. And I like the fact that they loop this in. As I say, I don't know what extent exactly, but we do know that being in Australia, having that connection, that Rhea Ripley had a big hand in bringing in Zarya, formerly known as Delta. So really cool to see. Really cool to see when she made her debut that Rhea Ripley was like literally marking out on Twitter. And it was like, she has to do that. She's promoting the show. It's like, fuck off. Maybe she's happy for her friend.
Exactly.
Like, Jesus Christ.
People just can't accept that.
But let's set the scene here for a second, because they did a really cool thing about how they presented Zarya at the pay-per-view. She had one eye on the main title scene. She had one eye on the North American title scene. She has her debut on Tuesday. The new North American champion, Fallon Henley, which we haven't talked enough about, comes out with Fatal Influence. And, she's going to surround the ring and da-da-da-da-da. And then Cora Jade and Roxanne Perez, who definitely don't mind enjoying the numbers game, they come out, and it's, 5-on-1. Seems fair.
Usually.
And of all people, Kalani Jordan comes in to back up Zarya, which I thought they did a really coal thing here that was really realistic, because it wasn't an automatic Avengers Assemble thing right away. If you notice, when Kalani Jordan jumped in the ring, she patted her on the back, and Zarya turns. She says, no, I'm here to help. Like, it wasn't automatically assumed that backup was coming. Little tiny touch, but it makes it more real. So she comes out, okay, 5-on-2, sure, no problem. Then out come Julia and Stephanie Vacour to Stephanie Vacour's awesome entrance music. Roxanne Perez now on the apron, really healing it up on the microphone. Okay, 5-on-4, still works for us. Then you hear the siren. Jordynne Grace comes back. NXT gives TNA former Knockouts champion Jordynne Grace her proper respect. Love the working relationship. That's a whole other conversation. The Avengers do, in fact, assemble. This turns into a brawl right away. I love that Zarya is kind of Goldberg and Brock Lesnar because she uses the spear to set up the F5.
Yeah.
Her and Jordynne Grace chucking one of the girls out onto all the rest. And I think it took a commercial break for them to come back and say, yeah, that's a thing we're doing.
Exactly.
And they're doing it, obviously, at the ECW arena next week when they're going up against, that other show. And as I said to you before we came on the air tonight, I know we're talking about the ladies, so it doesn't quite work, but this was NXT and their women's division proverbially putting their dicks out on the table.
Yes,
and
it
saying,
was.
Try to have a women's division.
Yes, exactly. Try us. See what you can master.
So I'm just going to say it one more time. Jasmine Nix, Jacy Jane, new North American champion Fallon Henley, newly returned Cora Jade with improvements. I'm an asshole. It's
with
fine.
Improvements.
Still, hashtag and still your women's champion Roxanne Perez taking on. I said this to you before we came online as well. That team alone would be really cool 6 months ago.
Absolutely.
Taking on new prospect, former North American champion Kalani Jordan, who we all love, who's awesome. And then who's by her side? She could be like the little nerd in class that's got 5 football players behind her.
Mm-hmm.
Jordynne Grace, Stephanie Vacour, Julia, and Zarya.
Exactly.
How does this match not kick ass? And I'm going to double down on what I've been saying on the pay-per-views recently. This better be the fucking main event.
It has to be. So Zarya has this great debut. She already attacked Fatal Influence on her debut at Halloween Havoc, essentially, but she has her in-ring debut. Destroys after ripping her arm out of the socket, goes ahead and does a German suplex, a crazy spear, and then an F5. And wins. And you're like, holy shit, that was dominant. Quickly, too. And then people are going to attack. And like you said, it wasn't just, the save. It was the ultimate heel formation. And they all had a reason to be there. Guess what? You're going to try and make your name known on Tuesdays. We're going to take you down. And then all the faces came to the ring. Kalani comes out because, hell, she just lost her title to Fatal Influence. Yeah. She wants her one-on-one match against Fallon. She knows she can beat her one-on-one, so she wants this. I loved every fucking
But if you
bit
look
of
at that
this.
team, every single... I mean, you have to stretch a little bit to make Zarya work, right? But you've got Kalani Jordan, who basically lost her... Who's, first of all, the inaugural NXT Women's North American Champion. The first mid-card Women's Champion that WWE's ever had?
Ever.
So, ever, and she's the first... only lost her title because she basically had a match, and then a third match with a 3-on-1 advantage. So she's in there. Cool. Connected. LTST, right?
Exactly.
Jordynne Grace made her debut in NXT. I mean, fought Stevie Turner, but basically made her debut in NXT at the UFC show, taking on, who? Roxanne Perez. Champion versus champion. Only lost because of the interference of Tatum Paxley and Ash by Elegance, so a little bit of interplay there. Julia got screwed by Roxanne Perez.
Yep.
Stephanie Vacour came to her aid, got the pin on the champion at the pay-per-view, and Zarya let us know on the weekend that she's keeping an eye on both title pictures.
Exactly.
So it's not just...
one person, and you know what's coming next.
But it's not just, like, as much as I'm looking forward to it, as much as I'm looking forward to War Games, it's going to be a separate conversation in about a month's time. But it's not just, let's slap 5 teams together, 2 teams of 5 together because it's November. Yeah. This came together like, first of all, it was pop after pop after pop after pop. That's production, that's promotion, that's how you do a show.
Yes. But
nothing was out of place.
No. Nothing
was out of place. Fallon Henley looks 10 feet tall, being the new North American champion. Couldn't be happier for her. She's been due a title of some description for a long time.
Yeah, and it was nice to see everyone give her flowers in the heel form, you know.
Yeah. Cora Jade is come back. She knows she's not going to be in the title picture right now, so she's going to buddy up. She's playing the Tiffany Stratton role to Nia Jax, except I'm sorry, Roxanne Perez and Cora Jade are already doing it better. Because Nia Jax and Tiffany Stratton, rightfully so, it fits their characters, but they're doing an obnoxious version of it.
Which is a good fit.
It is a good fit. This is more genuine because they were a tag team. And then one turned, and then that person went away. While that person was away, the other person turned as well. So we were a team when we were both goody-goody two-shoes, you know, smiling Snow White baby faces.
Exactly.
We're both back on the same page, so why wouldn't we be on the same page? Except for Cora Jade standing next to Roxanne Perez makes her look tiny.
A little bit, yeah. No
Roxanne,
doubt about it.
I will say they got to be careful how they do this because their main champion is Roxanne Perez, who's fucking awesome, but she's gonna look tiny next week.
Yes, very small.
She's gonna. I could see. I want them to do a spot. I don't want them to mock her too much, but I do want them to do a spot where, like, specifically like Zarya and Jordynne Grace, just get Roxanne Perez and like play catch with her for a second. I think it would be. And then they throw the two of them, throw her to the outside of the ring to the other three so that they can do a beatdown. Because Stephanie Vacour is not as big, Julia's not as big, Kalani Jordan's not as big, but the three of them is big enough.
Exactly, and they're big enough, and they can.
And the thing is about it as well, and it's of the 10 people, she's the last one you think of. But like for an absolute beginner, what a cool spot is this for Jasmine Nix?
Absolutely.
Like, Cora Jade's been there a while. Roxanne Perez has her history from elsewhere. J.C. Jane's well established on the show, along with Fallon Henley, long overdue for a title herself. And all these massive megastars, with the possible exception of Kalani Jordan, but that's the reason for it. Jasmine Nix, if you wanted to be an asshole and be nitpicky, she'd be the one that you say, oh, how does she fit into this match? Well, she's the one that's going to benefit from it.
Exactly.
She's got 9 other women to benefit from experience from in this match, and I'm pretty sure she's eating the pin.
Yeah.
Let's be real for a second.
I'm pretty sure you're right about that.
It's not going to be your Ann Still champion. It's not going to be your Ann New champion. It's not going to be J.C. Jane because, like you say, she's done enough in storyline-wise and all the Chase U stuff and all the Thea Hale stuff and all that kind of thing. They're not going to pin Cora Jade right after she got back because way too many people are fapping online that she's back. And I mean, the baby faces are winning.
Yeah, it really feels like...
Spoiler alert, when you turn on Avengers, the Avengers win. This is going to be a lot of fun. I hope they give this time. It better be the main event, and I hope they give it time. I would stretch the boundaries of making a wish list here. Make it an elimination match.
Yeah.
Give it the last half hour of the show.
I would love to see it just really, like you said, have the time it needs.
Because they've done good. Obviously, as we've said all along, they're going to do some nostalgia stuff. They're going to do some... They might even do like a little video package voiced over by Paul Heyman. Let me tell you about the history of the 2300 arena.
Yeah, exactly. I could see that
a ragtag bunch of rapscallions in Philadelphia way back when.
Got shystered by a guy telling them to give them a paycheck and never delivered.
And they get Tommy Dreamer out there to cry.
Yeah, I was going to kill myself at WrestleMania.
Those 3 letters. I was going to shoot myself. Those 3 letters, they remind me of another 3 letters that you might have heard of. ECW. Damn it. Oh, I'm sorry. They're working with TNA, so Tommy Dreamer showing up isn't out of the realm of possibility.
No, a lot of people have said, "Oh, what? I can certainly see him arriving. Like, why wouldn't it happen?" Yeah. Absolutely. Makes perfect sense. It fits.
I mean, he was the TNA digital media champion not that long ago.
Exactly.
I want the Hardy Boys. I know they're not ECW guys, but they if you look back in history, they should have been.
They really should have been.
Lita, the Hardys show up and they take on like Jada Parker and OTM or something. I want to see the Hardys and Fraxium in the back, just cheersing belts, teasing a match that we're probably never going to get.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ziggler in the back with his TNA belt.
And I don't think it's going to be that far away of a possibility for them to start coming from TNA more into NXT.
I just thought of something.
What's that, dare I ask?
Chase U has a bone to pick with Ridge Holland.
Obviously.
How better to fuck him over than to beat him down before this big marquee tag match that he's about to have with the champion and Bully Ray. Ego needs a partner.
Oh.
Out comes Josh Alexander.
Okay. I don't hate that. I really don't.
I'm pushing for Josh Alexander on NXT television. And Josh Alexander in the 2300 arena isn't something that hasn't happened before.
No, and I really, like you said, I don't hate it. I really don't, because they're
going to lean on the ECW history. TNA does the same thing. I hope because of the partnership they can lean on the fact that TNA also has some history in this building and bring that together full circle. Because I'm sorry, there's more TNA people that I'd like to see show up at this show than ex-ECW.
Yeah,
for obvious
ECW talent
reasons.
Who's A, alive, and B, able to show up.
Yeah, I mean, do some nostalgia, but also do some fun shit.
Yeah,
have PCO come in for a night. Monsters Ball in the 2300 arena
would be great. I think they're going to have more than one show at the 2300. I think it's going to be a time thing. So I think we're going to get another one of these, and we'll see even more TNA and WWE people be coming around. I think that'll be the case.
That's who we get to deal with. Ridge Holland. Ridge Holland gets taken out by PCO.
Yeah.
Ridge Holland got taken out by the French-Canadian Frankenstein. All right, we're about to wrap up. I'm going to turn this off and see how badly AEW has ruined Halloween. Jake, tell them where to find you, buddy.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at CountdownEnded, but of course you can check me out this weekend. I'll be live, that's right, again for a watch-along. Crown Jewel, we'll be doing the predictions tomorrow, but you can find me live this weekend on YouTube at CountdownEnded. We'll be hanging out with everybody in the chat. There's usually not much to review in those shows. There's enough to preview, but not enough to review, so it's good to do the watch-along live, get people's immediate reactions. We'll be hanging out. Hope to see you guys there in the chat.
I won't be that active this weekend. I will be watching Crown Jewel, but I'm getting ready to go to another set of Destiny Wrestling tapings where, here's a combination for you. I'm going to a show that's going to include a lot of awesome Canadian wrestlers. Bradshaw, and potentially Simon Miller of What Culture?
That's the craziest of all of them, because I've watched Simon since What Culture began.
Yeah. It's only
I've
been
always
teased.
liked him, and it's been teased a lot, and it's really crazy to see. So I'm excited.
And shout out to him, he's got the Progress Proteus Championship.
Yeah.
I don't know. Follow him on his YouTube to see that. Good dude finding good times is good.
Absolutely.
The world needs good shit, especially next week.
Good shit with.
There's a whole lot of controversy going to go down. There's a whole bunch of controversy going to happen on Tuesday, and then a whole lot more important controversy going to happen next Wednesday. But as I say, check out Jake. He's going to be doing his live stream thing. Go bug him on Twitter because he can't bug you back just yet. You know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz. This has been Jake. This has been your preview for NXT 2300. Hopefully we'll be back tomorrow to talk about Crown Jewel. But until then, subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later. But for right now, me and Super Sexy Jake are tagging out. Bye, guys.
Bringing the extreme.